Alexa, play some disco music. Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Starting from Scratch with me, Ellen, Miss Ellen. So today we're going to be doing double baked potatoes, which are really super simple, delicious. And I'm going to be doing a juicy pork chop recipe for you that's going to go along with it. And then you could serve it with a salad or broccoli or whatever you want to do. But all right, so to start with, we're going to put these potatoes in a 425 degree preheated oven, and they're going to take at least 2.5 hours to bake. That's what I'm thinking. So I started with a huge big bag of russet potatoes from Sam's Club. These are actually from Sam's. And you want to pick the potatoes that are just about all the same size, if that's even possible. So you might have to go through them a little bit because you don't want some to be like a funny little shape and then others to be a bigger one, especially when you're making it for company. I guess if it's for family, it's okay. So I kind of go through, look at that one. You definitely don't want that potato. That's funny. So I want to go through pretty much all my potatoes. I am going to be making 6. This one seems to be not so good. I'm doing 6, and so what you really want to do is 7, because you always want to have a little bit extra for when you fill it up again. They're going to be nice and filled. All right, so let's see what I got here. I've got 1, 2, so I can make them really filled up. So remember, we do not use a recipe. Everything that I show you is just going to be eyeballing it because I want you to be able to cook and have fun with it. So I take just a regular dish rag with kind of warm water, and you do want to scrub them because some people might want to eat the skins. Like me, I like to eat the whole thing. So it's got to be pretty clean. So we're going to just scrub all of these potatoes with a dish rag that will go again in the laundry when I'm done. Alright, next we're going to take our potatoes and we're going to put them on a towel and kind of dry them off a little bit. I don't want them to be quite this moist because if they're this moist when they go in the tin foil, they're gonna the skin is gonna get soggy and it's just not going to be so good. So we just want to dry them off, just kind of a fast dry off like this. All right, then we want to take each of our potatoes and wrap them in tin foil. You're not going to want to just throw them in the oven without wrapping because the skin will get way too hard and the potato are going to take a really long time to bake. All right, so that's it. I just take them, put them close to each other, get them so that they're even a little bit hotter, and we're going to put them on the lower shelf. So those potatoes are in the oven, 425 degrees. They're going to be in there for about 2 to 2.5 hours until you can squeeze it and they're going to be nice and soft. So I'll be back with you and let you know how long it took. Okay, we're going to be making the most juiciest pork chops to go along with these double baked potatoes. Now a lot of times people overcook pork and that's the reason why they turn out to be so tough. So these pork chops, these have not got any bone in them. They're just boneless pork chops. As you see, they're probably about maybe an inch thick. You're going to want to probably cook these about 5 minutes on each side to begin with, and then it's going to go back in the sauce and you can cook it for a few more minutes. Okay, but this is what we're going to do first. We're going to take our salt and season it all over with salt on both sides. Turn it all over. Salt. All right, then we're going to take onion powder, season it all over. That's the one thing about pork chops. A lot of times they just are kind of bland and you want them to be flavorful. So on both sides, sprinkle the onion powder all over. All right, next it's garlic powder. So let's do that, sprinkle it all over, doesn't matter, you know, if you go a little heavier on it. Turn it over and sprinkle this side. These are gonna be so yummy. All right, and then we're gonna do black pepper all over. All right. Now there's a trick to these pork chops. Right now they have just come out of the refrigerator. When we put them in the marinade, they're going to be sitting out for an hour until I'm ready to cook them. I want them to kind of just settle all in, have it be kind of at room temperature, the pork chop when I start to cook it. All right, so these are all seasoned up as you see. Now what we're gonna put in our bowl for our marinade, we've already got all this stuff, so we're not adding any of this again. All right, that can all go off to the side. But what we are gonna put in is extra virgin olive oil. I'm gonna kind of measure it. I want you to use about a half of a cup of each. Much better. All right, let's do a half a cup of olive oil. All right. Half a cup of balsamic vinegar. Yep. All right. And I've got my stone ground mustard that I want to use. You can use Dijon. I like this better. It's kind of got a little bit more of a flavor to it. We're going to put in 2 heaping tablespoons of this stone ground mustard. All right. And one more thing, squirt of honey. About like that much honey, so that's probably about maybe 1.5 tablespoons. Blend it all up, all right, as you see. Just gonna stir it all up. Take the pork chops, give it a little bit more of a pat because you really want that stuff to, all of those spices to kind of stay in there, right? Open it up. Put it in. Close it up. I love my trusty bags. I use these all the time. Close them up. Nice and tight. Make sure it's not open. Give it a shake, shake, shake. Just like this. And we're gonna let it marinate now for about a half an hour, all right? Just out on the counter. Just leave it right on the counter. If you get a chance, about 15 minutes into it, turn it over. Give it a little turn, and that's it. I'll be back with you when this is done marinating. Okay, so my pork chops, my boneless pork chops, have been marinating out on the counter for half an hour. So now what I'm gonna do is I am gonna put in a couple tablespoons of butter, turn it on a kind of a medium heat, and let that melt. And while that's melting, I cut up my parsley already, so this is ready to go here. This is just the flat leaf parsley. And then remember how I told you that with the green onions, keep them in a bunch. I don't like the very top parts of it. Throw that in the garbage. And I also don't like, obviously, the very bottom part of it. Cut that off. Throw it in the garbage. Let's take this off of here. I've already rinsed them off, by the way. Everything is all washed and cleaned. And now, let's just slice it up while it's over here. And then I got the bottom part. Oopsie. So some of this I'm not going to use. I'm going to put it off to the side. And all right, so my butter is melting. Make it a little hotter while it's melting here. Remember, let's go over what was in here again. So it was the stone ground mustard. It's a half a cup of olive oil, half a cup of balsamic vinegar, and remember I seasoned, and then a little bit of honey, just a little bit of honey, and I mixed it all up, and then I put it in a bowl before I put it in here, and then I seasoned all of my boneless pork chops with salt, black pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder. Right? So now we've got a couple tablespoons of butter in here. It's gonna be, remember, I only want you to cook these pork chops. These are about 1 inch thick. I only want you to cook them for about 5 minutes on each side. That's it. I know they're not gonna be totally cooked yet, but that's okay because I'm gonna show you what we're gonna do afterwards. Drip them, drip, drip, drip. Don't let all of that juice. I just want it to be just the pork chop at this point. All right? Not much of the marinade. Looking at my time, it's 2:49. So remember, 5 minutes on each side. Okay, they've been cooking all on one side. Remember, 5 minutes. So as soon as it turns 2:54, then we're gonna turn them over. And there it goes, 2:54, okay? 5 minutes on each side. Turn them over. All right, another 5 minutes on this side. All right, so now we're gonna turn off our heat. It's been 5 minutes on both sides. This side is gonna look even a little bit better. A little bit hotter on that one side, as you see. I like the color. Beautiful, actually. Beautiful color. That's because of that balsamic vinegar. That's the reason why. All right, so now what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your green onions. I'm gonna take, this is probably about 3 green onions. Maybe 4 total green onions, I'd say. Let that fry in that. It just turned on. This turns on automatically. Let this fry for just a fast second here, not too long. All right? Now you're gonna see at the bottom of this pan, it's nice and brown. That's what I want. Now I'm gonna deglaze it. It's a little bit hot. Come on over here. Throw in some hot water. And what I'm doing is I'm deglazing that pan again. Remember how I told you before? Deglaze. Add a little bit to it. Turn that heat back on. Let it come to a boil. See what this tastes like. Look at that beautiful rich color. That's what I like. That's what I like. Pork chops are supposed to be 145 degrees, the internal temperature, and I'm going to say it probably is not going to get to it, but let's take a look and see what it shows, because it's going to go back in the oven again. So if you don't have a meat thermometer, you can go ahead and cut it in half if you want to see how it's looking, but okay, it's almost at 130. They are not cooked in the middle yet, so these are going to still go in the oven. I'm planning on them to still go in the oven for about another 15 minutes. Yep, they're at almost 140 right now. All right, so looking at the sauce, let's see how it's looking. Let's see how it's tasting. A little taste. It's good. But what I need to add now is my trusty chicken broth, like I always tell you. I always put my chicken broth in. Let's put in 1, and how about a half? Stir it up, see how it's tasting. If I want to give it a little more flavor, I could still add a little bit of that marinade that I had from before, but good. It's very good. All right, so chicken base, chicken broth, water. We just put a little bit of our a little bit of the drippings from the pork. Let's turn this down now. And now what I want to do, actually I'm going to turn it off. Now what I want to do is I want to add a couple pats of butter to it, and this is going to be a little bit of a thickener for it. All right, let that butter melt in there. Let it melt in there. See, it kind of gives it a little bit of a different color here, you know, and it makes it a little bit more creamy. Let that melt. And now let's spoon it over our pork chops. All right. Now, of course, our parsley. We always put our parsley on. Now, this is going to go back in an oven, but not yet. Because right now, let me show you what I have done. I'm going to put this to the side. My potatoes have been in now for 2 hours. Let's see, they've been in for 2 hours. So now I am going to turn off my oven because I'm pretty sure they're done because I checked them already about 10 minutes ago. Let me show you what they're going to look like. So you're going to want to be able to squeeze them. See how you can squeeze and you know that they're done? That means they are cooked inside. All right? So, all right, take these out. I'm going to clean up. I'll get right back to you. Okay, so my potatoes have come out of the oven. They were in a 400-degree oven for about an hour and a half, and then I kicked it up a notch because I wanted to get this done today, and so I did make it a little bit hotter of a temperature in the oven. No problem. They turned out perfect. Over here I got my pork chops. Okay, so they're not in the oven yet. Those are going to go back in the oven when my double bake go back in the oven. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to unwrap them all. Now my son Ryan wants one that isn't double baked, so I'm going to just do 5 of them instead. Now again, these are going to be HOT hot. So what you want to do is I want to get a couple pieces of paper towel. This is what I do because they're still really hot. Cut off just the top part. Just the top part. I don't want you to cut it in half, but I want you to just cut off just the top part. Turning it around. Got your nice sharp knife. And that's perfect. All right. The second one. Just the top part again. All right. Now, what you're going to want to do is in your bowl. You want to scoop out that potato while it's still hot. You got to do it because this is the way that the potato is going to be so good. Now you want to be careful with it. So you want to take your spoon and go back and forth, and just get the potato out of there. Very gently. You could leave some of the meat of the potato at the bottom. But this is pretty much how I want it to. That's about what I want it to look like a little boat. Let's take this one, do the same thing, and forth. This is why you have to make sure the potato is really cooked. It's going to be delicious.
So long I've been saving, tonight was made for me and you.
This one's got a black spot on it. I'm not going to use this one, so I'm going to take most of the meat out of most of the potato meat, I would call it, out of this one. I'm not using this one. I just want the potato part. I'll throw that in the garbage. My oven is set back on 350 degrees now. Piece of the potato here, skin. So that's heating up now to 350. Again, you could use smaller potatoes if you want. I just like to make things. I like to go big or go home, right? All right, so these are all gonna be put in the garbage. Now, as you can see, I've got a thing of potatoes. So what I want you to do first of all is add your butter that has been very melted, all right? Put in a whole, that's one stick. I know it looks like it's a half a stick, but it is really a whole stick, all right? And this is gonna go right away in the KitchenAid. Let me show. Let it mix up. Now let's break it down a little bit. See, it's already looking nice and mashed. Do it again, just really fast. Now I like a lot of butter, so yes, I am putting in another quarter stick, I'm gonna say, of butter. See, this is not very low calorie, I know. All right, and now what you're also gonna add is your half and half. This is what makes it creamy, okay? Pour a little half and half in there. You see it's already getting creamed up. And we need, of course, about a teaspoon of salt in there. About right. I want to add a little bit more half and half. And now the secret ingredient, let's turn it down a little bit and we're going to add these are teaspoons, 2 heaping teaspoons of sour cream. I'm making a mess here. See, I don't have my, I'm not doing what I tell you to do. Keep everything all clean. And look at this. Look how beautiful those are. So, it's half and half, butter, and a couple nice teaspoons of sour cream. And there you have it. Now, of course, you always want to give everything a little bit of a taste before you go ahead and start filling up your, taste it. Make sure it's got enough salt. It's delicious. All right, so this is what we're gonna do now. We're gonna take it and we're gonna put some in the bottom of our boat, like this, just like that. See, isn't this easy? Just like that. You see how I'm not filling it all the way up yet? Because I have more to put in here. You're making it really deluxe. All right? So this is what you're putting in now. This is, I know it's Walmart brand, but it is deluxe American cheese. They didn't have it here in Utah. So I have 5, so I'm gonna do 1, 2, cut in half. These are slices. And I want you to put it right down in there. All right, so that when people dig into it, it's all full of cheese. And it's so good. This, 1 more, and another half. All right, and now what you're gonna do is you're going to fill it up again. People are gonna love these double baked. You can make these the day before if you want to. Make them the day before, it's easy. Then just heat them up in an oven. Probably about a 350-degree oven or so for about, let's see if I have a little bit more for that. For about, if you're gonna heat them up the next day, 350-degree oven for probably about a half an hour or so. They should be just about perfect. Just make sure you cover all that American cheese, all right? The one that we put in there. Now, on top of this, I am going to just sprinkle a little bit of Parmesan. Not a lot, just a little bit on top of all these. And a little bit of paprika. All right. The pan I use to bake potatoes, just put them right on top, like this. Now my oven is set at 350, right? These are gonna go on the top shelf. These are gonna go on the bottom shelf. And they're gonna cook for another 15 minutes at 350. So I'll be back with you. All right, so actually I put it on 375 degrees and it's been in for almost 15 minutes. So let's take a look and see how it's looking. Pork chops. Leave that potato in for 1 minute. Let's take a look at how it's looking. I just want to make sure that it is cooked through. Remember, we brown each side for 5 minutes. So, this looks like a nice size right here. Look how beautiful it looks. And it's perfect. It's perfect. It's actually perfect. I want it to be juicy. You don't want to overcook it, all right? So 375 degrees. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to take a little bit of my broth here and pour it over, because that's all part of it, is the broth that we have. And let's taste it and see. Look at this big knife I'm using here. Sorry. Let's see how it's tastes. So juicy. So good. It's so juicy. It's delicious. Has that really good sauce on it. All right. Next, we're going to see how our potatoes are looking. The cheese is all melted, as you can see, kind of coming off the side a little bit. The potato was already all cooked. Now, let's give it a try. Dig into it. As you can see, that cheese coming out of there, right? It's all hot. I love double baked potatoes. You can make these with anything, a steak, whatever you want to make it with, and it's the wow factor. There we have it. That's our meal for today. A juicy pork chop and some double baked potatoes. You could serve yourself a nice garden salad or maybe some broccoli, some steamed broccoli or asparagus would be really good with that, roasted asparagus, and you've got yourself a meal. So I appreciate you watching. Subscribe to my channel, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much.